wave theory and energy theory through Fourier transformation, and the foundation of VMT methodology. Number 1359, September 18, 2025. Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation. Category: Methodology. Preface. In daily life, our bodies are constantly exposed to many stressors: glucose fluctuations after meals, changes in blood pressure, irregular sleep cycles, emotional stress, or physical activity. Each of these stressors rises and falls over time like a wave. These waves, however, are very different in nature. For example, blood pressure waves are high-frequency signals that can change within seconds or minutes. A sudden, high-amplitude spike in blood pressure can trigger an acute stroke. By contrast, glucose waves are lower in frequency, shifting over minutes or hours. Large, repeated glucose amplitudes over time may not cause an immediate crisis, but they gradually inflict fundamental and permanent damage on blood vessels and organs, ultimately leading to multiple mortality diseases. The body does not experience these stressors separately. Instead, they overlap and interact as complex wave patterns. This combined effect eventually leads to vessel damages and chronic diseases, if not managed properly. The role of Fourier transformation. To untangle such complexity, I apply a mathematical tool called the Fourier transformation, introduced by Joseph Fourier in the early 19th century. This method allows any complicated wave to be broken down into a set of much simpler waves. These simpler waves are sinusoidal in shape, the regular up and down oscillations we are familiar with. Each wave has three key properties: frequency, how many times the wave cycles, or vibrates within a given time period; amplitude, the height or size of the wave, which reflects its intensity; phase, the position of the wave in its cycle at a given moment, which determines how multiple waves align, overlap, or cancel each other when combined. Think of a symphony orchestra. The music may sound very complex, but it is made up of individual instruments, each producing tones of different pitch, frequency, and loudness. Amplitude. Fourier transformation is like having a tool that can separate the orchestra into its individual instruments, so we can hear and measure each one clearly. For example, if we look at blood glucose levels over a day, the curve may look irregular and confusing. Fourier analysis can break it down into a long, slow wave from overall daily carbohydrates and sugar intake, medium frequency waves from meal timings, and faster waves from sweet snacks, drinks, or stress hormones. The same applies to blood pressure or sleep cycles. Each health factor is not a single signal, but a mixture of overlapping waves with different frequencies, speeds, and intensities. Once transformed, these signals are no longer described only in the time domain, how they change second by second or hour by hour, but instead in the frequency domain, which shows how often different rhythms occur, and the energy domain, which shows how strong or powerful each rhythm. This shift in perspective is crucial. In the energy domain, I can see which components dominate, measure their strength, and calculate how much cumulative burden they place on the body. In engineering, Fourier analysis is used to study vibrations, sound waves, or electronic signals. In VMT, I apply it to health and biomedical stressors to expose their hidden energy structures, adding the strain change rate over time. Energy alone does not tell the full story. Equally important is how fast strain changes over time, the strain rate. In viscoplastic materials, such as metals under impact or tissues in the human body, not only the total energy but also the speed of deformation matters. A slow, gradual change may cause little harm at first, but if it continues, it eventually leaves permanent marks or irreversible structural damage. In contrast, a sudden, violent shift can create catastrophic damage, such as a stroke. The human body behaves the same way. A rapid spike in blood pressure can rupture a vessel and cause a stroke, even if the average pressure is not extremely high. A sudden glucose surge may trigger oxidative stress or inflammation, while chronic high glucose levels, hyperglycemia, slowly stiffen and clog arteries. This rate of change reflects the viscosity-like property of biological systems. Just as honey resists quick deformation but slowly yields under steady pressure, our organs can tolerate gradual changes better than sudden, high-amplitude shocks. However, we must not underestimate or ignore the long-term damage caused by slower-paced chronic conditions such as obesity and diabetes, which steadily weaken tissues and organs over time. By including strain rate in the analysis, the VMT model produces a richer picture. Fourier transformation reveals how energy is distributed among stressors, while time-dependent strain rate highlights sharp transitions and sudden stresses. Together, they reveal not only how much energy is accumulated as strain, but also how quickly it is imposed. This dual perspective explains why sudden spikes in blood pressure, sharp glucose excursions, or abrupt sleep disruptions often trigger acute events such as strokes, heart attacks, or arrhythmias, even when average values look acceptable. The essential foundation of VMT. This combined process forms the foundation of the energy model of the viscoplastic medicine theory, VMT. Each health factor is treated as an input wave, transformed into the energy domain through Fourier operations, and then evaluated with both cumulative energy and strain rate. This quantifies the true physiological load on the body. It shows why long-term exposure to stressors causes gradual vessel stiffening and calcification, while short-term violent spikes trigger acute organ failure. Together, these slow damages and sudden shocks destroy organs and ultimately bring death to human life. In summary, Fourier transformation translates the messy, overlapping messages of daily health fluctuations into a clean and structured energy picture. Strain rate analysis adds the dimension of time-dependent, nonlinear and dynamic stress. They bring together the four worlds of mathematics, physics, engineering, and medicine into one framework. This foundation supports my VMT research methodology, which I have applied to study diabetes, cardiovascular disease, kidney disease, stroke, cancer, aging, and many other health conditions. 3 diagrams. 1. Slow energy accumulation, chronic stressors. Gentle slope upward, represents long-term chronic stressors, obesity, type 2 diabetes, CKD, vessel calcification and stiffening, aging process. Damage accumulates slowly but leaves footprints of permanent damages. 2. Sharp strain rate spikes, acute stressors, represent sudden acute stressors. Hypertension surge, high glucose spike, arrhythmia, can trigger immediate crises such as stroke, heart attack, or arrhythmia. 3. Combined VMT picture, chronic plus acute. Chronic long waves form the base load from obesity, diabetes, CKD, and aging. Acute spikes ride on top, representing sudden crises like stroke or myocardial infarction. Together they explain why chronic vessel damage, plus an acute event often results in mortality diseases, such as heart attacks or strokes. Disclaimer: this content is for educational reference only and not medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be edited or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C.